Hey everyone, welcome and happy Sunday. Thanks for joining everyone. Good morning, good evening. We'll take a moment here to let people join. Hey Abu, where are you tuning in from? Assad 120, I think we saw you yesterday. Amazing. Hey Dennis,
Hey, how's it going?
top of the morning to you, or good evening.
This evening, yeah.
Thank you for joining. Um, Bangladesh Suite. We have a ZetaChain Hindi account if you're not already in it. And I think we're going to sponsor some hackathons at the universities in India, all around the big cities. I was actually in uh, Bangalore with Denis, our speaker, for India Blockchain Week.
Yeah, we had so many
Thank
events
you.
there.
Yes, yes. Um, Thanks, Rido, for your vote. So yeah, we've been doing these sessions. I'm interviewing different core contributors in the Zeta ecosystem, so people on Binance Square can get to know us. We interviewed Alex, uh, the ecosystem leader, yesterday. Today we have Denis Fadeev on the panel, who leads developer experience. So we'll go through like the ZetaChain 101. Um, how a vote for Zeta helps the BNB chain community and Binance in general. And then we can keep this interactive. So like shoot your questions in the chat room and I can bring you to the stage as well at any time. Just shoot your questions. Um, for those that don't know Denis Fadeev, uh, Denis, maybe give a quick intro on your background and what you're doing for Zeta.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey everyone, I've been in crypto since 2019. I've been focusing on developer tools, built tools for the Cosmos ecosystem, and helped onboard developers and ensure that they have great experience building blockchains. And I joined ZetaChain actually almost exactly 2 years ago, back in April of 2023. And I've also been focusing on developer experience, building tools. And it's been a great journey because ZetaChain is a very interesting tech that requires a lot of new innovative tools that we have built. Because building um, for cross-chain, for omni-chain is much different than building just for like one single blockchain. So that has been very challenging and interesting. So happy to be here.
Love it. Thanks for joining. Um, I see some requests for speakers already. Let's go over just high level what ZetaChain is in a world of like thousands of blockchains right now. Like how does ZetaChain differentiate? And then we can get some questions from the audience. So Denis, what is ZetaChain? How is it different than everything else?
Yeah, so first and foremost, ZetaChain is an L1 blockchain. So it's a sovereign blockchain with smart contracts running EVM. But what makes ZetaChain different is that we don't just scale Ethereum or we plug into an existing ecosystem or um, we kind of extend something, right? We connect existing blockchains and provide a platform where developers can build very powerful applications that are by default connected to all these blockchains. So uh, think of it this way: if you create a contract, deploy it on one chain, you kind of scope to that single chain. When you're building on ZetaChain, however, the same contract can be used by users from any blockchain. and that makes it much easier for developers to build cross-chain applications from the start. So you don't have to adapt your existing application to kind of add messaging to it or somehow modify it to make it cross-chain. On ZetaChain, every dApp can be a cross-chain out of the box, which is very, very powerful. And yeah, what ZetaChain is good at is essentially this developer and user experience where you don't have to manually bridge assets, deal with wrapped assets all over the place. It just kind of all works natively from the wallet that you're already using. So ZetaChain is not just yet another chain. We're the chain that connects all the blockchains.
Cool. Let me try this screen share function. Yeah, so there are more details on ZetaChain in our introduction article. It's on our profile on Binance Square. So everything about the ecosystem and how the chain works and latest metrics and stuff. So Denis, you were saying if you're a user on another chain, even something like Bitcoin, you can access these universal or cross-chain apps. How does that work, like on something like Bitcoin, where you historically you can't really access assets or smart contracts in the DeFi world?
So on every blockchain connected to ZetaChain, there is something called gateway. On Bitcoin, that would be a gateway address, and this address effectively represents a single entry point from that blockchain into the world of universal apps. So through this gateway, users can send assets to universal apps. They can make calls, and on Bitcoin, that is handled through this gateway address. That when a user sends tokens to that address, they are transferred to a universal app on ZetaChain, and a user can specify which universal app or which user on ZetaChain they want to send BTC to, which contract they want to call. So even though Bitcoin doesn't have smart contracts, it doesn't mean that ZetaChain cannot act as this execution layer for Bitcoin. So every BTC holder essentially gets access to all the DeFi applications on ZetaChain. And not only that, through ZetaChain, they get access to applications on other blockchains. So you can make a call from Bitcoin to Universal App on ZetaChain that then in turn calls a program on Solana, and it might return something back. So all of this interoperability is facilitated through ZetaChain. It acts as this hub that routes transactions, accepts calls and token transfers, and of course acts as a platform for these universal applications, which again, from technical point of view, are just EVM contracts. They're not hard to build. They're just EVM Solidity contracts that have some special APIs that they use to make them callable from connected blockchains like Bitcoin or BNB chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and still EVM and Solidity is the most familiar way developers are building in Web3, and you can kind of think of ZetaChain as like an EVM layer for programming Bitcoin or Solana. So that it's a big utility add to the BNB ecosystem. Also, we've been building for like 4 years now. BNB has been a supported chain from day one. 25% of all transactions on BNB testnet at one point came from ZetaChain, fun fact. And then on day one, mainnet launch about a year ago, we had BNB chain support from day one. So yeah, what Denis is saying is that if you're a Binance user, you can now interact with native assets and dApps from other chains like native BTC. There's no other L1 or let alone interoperability solution that is supporting native BTC, maybe wrapped BTC or other versions. So that's a big deal from a trust standpoint. And then all users from Bitcoin Network, Solana, Ton, and Sui are coming on board soon. They can access native BNB assets and the BNB dApp ecosystem. So it's both ways. So in terms of like real life use cases, what are some examples? Bitcoin-backed stablecoin, universal DEX for cross-chain swapping. What's exciting to you, Dennis? What are you seeing out there?
So to me, personally, I think exciting apps involve applications that handle complex cross-chain logic, where you have users from all kinds of different blockchains, all using the same application, and this application essentially uh, reduces the barrier rate. It allows users to send assets between chains. If they want to create a token, they can mint a token and then send it to Ethereum from BNB, for example. So one of the things ZetaChain comes out of the box with is universal tokens and universal NFTs, meaning you can mint an NFT on the BNB chain, and then users can easily move these NFTs to Ethereum, for example, or to ZetaChain, or to any other EVM and soon non-EVM chains. So this kind of fluidity, basically, in interactions, and that's what makes it kind of very interesting to build. And at the end of the day, for the user, it abstracts away the complexity associated with cross-chain transfers and assets on all these blockchains, right? Users don't really have to think about where their assets are. Ideally, we're not there yet, but eventually, as an industry, we should get there, where a user just kind of has a bunch of apps they interact with, has some tokens, and they just interact with dApps without really thinking where their assets are. And especially, they don't need to think about bridging and worrying about gas fees. I didn't mention this before, but ZetaChain abstracts away gas fees. So when you're, let's say you're on BNB chain and you need to send someone Bitcoin, you just interact with the dApp, press one button to sign a BNB chain transaction, and a user on Bitcoin will get some BTC from you. So it should be that easy, where any chain you are on right now, you can interact with the rest of the network of blockchains from that chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so one of these examples is the cross-chain DEX Beam. We can look at this quick demo. Hopefully this is legible. So they're showing a native cross-chain swap between, Bitcoin and your Unisat wallet. So this is right on Bitcoin and BNB, gas token. So there are hundreds of thousands of users that we have in Zeta Hub, which is like a entry point into the ZetaChain ecosystem. Some of you might be in this app. So there's like an app marketplace for these new universal cross-chain apps. There is a different quests where you can earn Zeta rewards. So we have a Beam quest right now. So you do a native swap with assets on BNB chain and you can get free gas. And it's a way to try apps, and we're getting feedback from users on how these apps are working, what they want to see. You can bring your assets into ZetaChain or to other networks, view your holdings and stuff. So yeah, we launched this with day one mainnet, and we're going to continue to bring more learn to earn quests in Zeta Hub. Okay, any other striking use cases that you're excited about? Maybe like this concept of triggering dApps on external chains, which Amana is doing. Could you talk about that, Denis?
Yeah, so there are many yield opportunities on different chains, and with apps like Amana, you can essentially take an asset that you already have, send it to this universal app, and it's gonna deposit these tokens into yield generating contracts and let you withdraw from that from these contracts later on. So this is what I was kind of referring to when I mentioned orchestration, right? When you have this universal app on ZetaChain that can accept calls from connected chains and make outgoing calls with tokens and decide where to move the tokens and how like have different strategies that it can use to essentially put the tokens in the best yield generating contracts. So one a simple example also is just being able to call Solana programs from BNB chain directly, I think is super powerful. That you can build a lot of cool stuff on top of that, and just kind of this connection between these two chains, and especially to Solana because it's very fast. Not only the chain itself, but the connection from ZetaChain to Solana is super fast. So having this mechanism that is not a bridge, but actually much better than a bridge because it abstracts away gas and yeah, I think super powerful stuff, and connection to Bitcoin, of course, as well. And it's all decentralized, right? So it's not like um, uh, it's not like a service where you don't really know what's going on under the hood. It's all powered by ZetaChain validators, and they all reach consensus on every single transaction. So it's all very transparent, which is important when you're dealing with value. You don't want to trust necessarily anyone. You want this to be as transparent and secure as possible.
Yep. Yeah, so Mon is a really cool example of um, uh, like a yield aggregator and abstracting that away. So, um, and like Denis said, you're not subject to wrapped assets. You you're able to ZetaChain is moving around the real native asset. All right, bunch of speaker requests. Let me bring Casey up. Casey, you have a question? All right, let's try Hanif.
Hello, how are you doing? I
Hey,
need a
Hanif.
query today. I lost almost, $710. So I need to recover that. So need some guidance.
All right, let's try someone else with a ZetaChain question. Vanita, go for it. Vanita, you're live. What's your question? All right, let's try one more speaker application. Dalton. Dalton, you're on the stage. What's your question? I think people just coming to the stage. All right, let's keep running, and we'll come back to other speakers. Or if you have questions, you can shoot them in the chat as well. People are talking about Pepe. So with ZetaChain, you could swap native Pepe on Ethereum for Bitcoin, for example. That is a pretty cool use case. What else? We spoke about universal apps, spoke about Bitcoin interoperability, some of the advantages of to BNB users, maybe a bit about ZetaChain traction. Let's see. So recently, there are 100 active validators on ZetaChain. It's a Cosmos-based chain, and then you can write smart contracts in Solidity, just like building on Ethereum. Some of the validators are the biggest companies in the world, like Deutsche Telekom and Alibaba and Google Cloud. So we're starting to do events with some of these companies around the world. We just had like a crypto startup competition, a pitch competition in San Francisco with Google. One of the things that we want to bring to Binance actually are learn to earn campaigns. So right now, if you're a Coinbase user, you can do some educational quizzes on ZetaChain and some on-chain quests. We just did one with Upbit in Korea. So this is in addition to the Zeta Hub interface that I showed. These learn to earn quizzes are through different partners. So a vote for Zeta will help us bring this to Binance as well. Denis, since you're on the developer experience side, maybe you want to talk about the state of dev tooling and infrastructure on ZetaChain and maybe some goals in 2025.
Yeah, so of course, just having interoperability is not enough. It's great, but as a developer, you're not just building with the protocol. You're also using a bunch of other services, and we have pretty much everything that you might need, from reliable RPC providers like Alchemy, BlockPi, all that node, a bunch of others, as well as indexers like GoldSky and some query, oracles like Pyth, debugging tools, Tenderly, very useful for developers. Can't really build a proper application without the debugging tools. And yeah, like all these tools are available for you as a developer on ZetaChain. From our side, of course, we provide the interoperability mechanisms, the APIs that your universal app is using, powered by ZetaChain. We have gateway contracts on all connected chains, so the interactions from connected chains is very straightforward. It's just one call away. For developers, we're building a lot of libraries and tools. One of them, for example, is LocalNet, which essentially launches EVM chains like BNB, Sui, Solana, all locally. So you have an environment running purely on your machine without any requirements for testnet tokens, right? It's all running on your laptop, and you can simulate the cross-chain transactions. And this is very useful because cross-chain transactions take time on local nets. They're instant, so you can simulate all sorts of interactions between chains, all very fast and repeatable. You can even run this in CI. So a lot of tools available for developers to actually kind of get up and running very quickly, even without deploying anything on testnet. We have block explorers like ZetaScan and Block Scout. Of course, when you're building universal applications, you're calling them mostly from connected chains like BNB, Base, Ethereum, Solana. So you're using tools from that chains as well. So it's a very kind of interesting experience where you're not just in this EVM land, you're always using and building on chains that are non-EVM as well. And yeah, I think we provide all the tools for developers to accomplish this, including front-end components, a toolkit, which you can think of it as an SDK for ZetaChain, local nets, documentation just recently added, AI chatbot to the docs, which is surprisingly capable, can answer a bunch of questions very intelligently.
Yes. I don't know how many developers we have tuning in, but we're all the building blocks are in there are there to build universal apps. Again, it's really similar to building on EVM on Ethereum, except your app works everywhere, even with Bitcoin. So if you are a builder in Web3, check out the docs. We also just onboarded the Graph, which is a popular indexing tool. So you can read more about that, and they have promotions to get free credits and stuff. Chains. ZetaChain is the first universal blockchain that connects all important networks. We actually have to update this. Arbitrum and Avalanche are live on mainnet. We have to make an official announcement with these foundations. But more exciting are these diverse chains with different programming languages and stuff like Ton and Sui that are historically kind of not really connected to other chains. So those will be coming online shortly. And then non-smart chains, we're researching Doge. So a native Doge integration would be pretty huge. Denis, any updates on chain roadmap or what you want to see in the future?
So interactions with universal apps are bidirectional, right? So you have deposits and withdrawals, and you have calls going both ways. And our goal is to ensure that all the chains connected to ZetaChain have this full interface where you can transfer tokens back and forth, and you can also make contract calls back and forth. And I'm happy to see Sui calls between ZetaChain and Sui being implemented. Sui is a great blockchain, but it's very different, and the way it makes contract calls is very different. But we've designed it in a way that is very easy to use from a universal app, which means that let's say you're a BNB chain user, you'd be able to call any contract on Sui with tokens with just one single click without worrying about gas. So this is the kind of UX we're aiming for, and yeah, make contract calls from ZetaChain to Sui is a big part of that. And of course, next is going to be Ton. So we already have kind of basic Ton support, and we'll be adding contract calls from ZetaChain to Ton soon. And that's going to kind of complete all the features we need for the full interoperability.
Awesome. Yeah, the cool thing about ZetaChain is, if you're in crypto, all of these blockchains are pretty tribal, and we're the fastest, we're the easiest to program. Uh, the cool thing about ZetaChain is we're helping everyone grow. We're not looking to replace Ethereum or Base or BNB chain. In fact, we're driving transaction volume and all sorts of new use cases that connect all of crypto. So the foundations we're doing events with, they're supporting our announcements. Like Olivia is at Ava Labs, the Avalanche Foundation. Um, Oh, and again, we have local communities around the world that you can get involved in for events, Chinese markets, Vietnam. We're going back to Vietnam Blockchain Week. I think that's in June. Indonesia. I mentioned India before. We're doing all sorts of hackathons. So uh, we have an ambassador program that we're scaling up in the next few months. So follow the local channels and you can get involved with the local ambassadors. Let's try bringing someone to the stage again. Hopefully we can get a question here. Anne Marie, you are live. Hello. Anne Marie, do you have a question for us? Okay. Any questions in the chat, please shoot them. Any news about Bull Run, Alicia asks. I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball. Okay. Oh, I mentioned metrics before. So ZetaChain's been live for 1 year. Top 10 L1 by weekly active users if you check out DApp Radar Analytics. So a lot of traction. 500,000 users are actually active on a monthly basis. So 4.6 million in total, and 500,000 monthly active. We're doing a lot of learn to earn campaigns. Over 100 million Zeta has been distributed. 30% of Zeta supply is in circulation. So if you're looking at the 11 other nominated projects in the Vote to List campaign, we're pretty mature comparatively. And then what we're working on the next 3 months. We are scaling universal connections. So we showed the chain roadmap. So specifically want to bring all of the functionality to Solana, Sui, and Ton, maybe a couple more EVM chains. There's some performance work that we're doing on transaction processing speed. What's happening on developer enablement, Dennis? This is your side of the house.
Yeah, so as I said, it's important to have all the APIs between blockchains implemented. And what I didn't mention before is, aside from regular calls, which are important, there are scenarios where your application misbehaves and like something wrong happens, and you have to take care of that and kind of handle all these situations where an app throws an error, for example. And we have a sophisticated system for handling these reverts in cross-chain as well. So when your universal app throws an error, the tokens are absolutely never lost. They are returned back to the sender, and you can also call a contract to take care of this situation on the source chain. So we're implementing all this functionality for all the blockchains. So it doesn't matter where the call is coming from. The application on ZetaChain, the universal app, is gonna handle all these scenarios. And what's also cool, and we're going to continue, of course, doing that, is ensuring that the same application running on ZetaChain is compatible with all the chains we connect. So this means that you build an app, deploy it on ZetaChain, and kind of once we add more chains, your app is almost automatically compatible with them. And it's not only limited to EVM chains, it can be non-EVM chains like Solana, and your app doesn't really need to change at all to support Solana, which is not something we've seen before. And yeah.
Yeah. Like, to give you a real life example how easy it is to build a universal app, we're running a hackathon right now. So people are experimenting and building these universal apps. And Denis and I are working together. And in the past 3 days, we built a automatic cross-chain rebalancing app. It's called Portfolio. We actually just released it. You can try on testnet. So like, this is one of many creative things that you can build on ZetaChain that is automatically cross-chain. So you can connect on ZetaChain itself or from BNB chain or Solana and automatically balance your native assets across different chains in one click, including BTC. Again, you can access this from your Binance Web3 wallet without leaving BNB chain. And this is really useful because if you're on Binance Exchange or some other exchange like Coinbase, you can't automatically rebalance your portfolio in one click. And that's what Portfolio is doing, and it's doing it in a decentralized way. So again, just another like cool real life use case. We spun this up in what, 3 or 4 days, Denis?
Yeah, it's been quite a ride, but it's it actually has been very easy to build. That's why it was possible to do it very quickly, because most of the components are already in place. So you don't have to reinvent anything. You're just kind of leveraging the interop that is already built in and just making something that users might enjoy.
Yes. And if you guys are interested in checking it out, I'm actually sending 10 Zeta to the first 10 people that try this out on testnet. So yeah, share your feedback. Someone is asking the background of Zeta. We talk about this in the intro article. So the project's been in development for 4 years, and some core contributors are the ex-Coinbase head of consumer who built Coinbase Wallet. And some of you may use the Brave browser, and we created Basic Attention Token, which is from like the 2017 cycle, and it's still a top 200 token. There are over 100 million active users on Brave. One of our protocol engineers is a professor in blockchain technology and also contributed to ThorChain. ZetaChain's kind of like ThorChain, except you can build any general cross-chain application. Denis is with us today, ex-VP a product at Tendermint in the Cosmos ecosystem and has a ton of experience across the stack. This is me. I've been contributing to Zeta for more than 3 years, combination of Web3 and Web2 software background. But, we're like over 100 contributors now that are building ZetaChain. So again, 37% of supply is in circulation. So, and there's 100 active validators. So the chain is pretty sufficiently decentralized and public. Yeah, feel free to keep asking questions, guys. And I think we'll wrap up in the next few minutes if there are no other burning questions. Mickey, let's try bringing you to stage, or Mr. Ahmad Riziv. You have a question for us, Ahmad? You are live, sir. I think we're 0 for 10 here today. Okay. I haven't seen these comments. Okay, we'll just briefly talk about the 2 other key priorities in the next coming months. So scaling chain connections, we spoke about growing universal apps. So Denis spoke about all of the dev tooling, and the platform is all in place. And so we're working on these new cross-chain app use cases with the ecosystem, more learn to earn opportunities, Coinbase, Upbit, hopefully Binance in the future. And then on the community side, I mentioned there are local ambassadors and meetup groups in every major market, India, South America, Korea, Vietnam. Join all of those channels and connect with Zeta users in your native country. Denis, anything else you want to add before we wrap up? Maybe why vote for Zeta? How does this help the BNB chain community? And then we can end it there.
Yeah, I think this is not only a vote for ZetaChain, but it's also a vote for interoperability in general, because our goal is to not bring all the users to ZetaChain and kind of compete with other blockchains. What we're building are the mechanisms that other chains are going to be using and are already using to become more interoperable and to provide better user experience for their users. So it's a vote for a more connected network of blockchains and a better infrastructure for developers to build next gen applications on chains like BNB, Bitcoin, Solana, and other chains.
There it is. Yeah, appreciate everyone joining. I dropped my handle in the chat, DaoistJC, if you want to reach out with any questions or can help you navigate the ZetaChain ecosystem. And yeah, we're excited to keep building with BNB Chain. Appreciate your support in the voting competition, and good luck this year in 2025. Stay strong and have fun. Denis, thanks again for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye, everyone. Keep building.
Bye. Au revoir.